Neti pot is a fantastic practice for cleaning out your nasal passages and your sinuses, but there are a couple of other techniques that I like even better that I want to tell you about today. The first one is called Vyut Krama Kapalbhati, and it involves putting salt water in your mouth and pushing it out your nose. Now, neti's cool, the neti pot, because you can just kind of like go from one nostril to the other and it comes out. But using the Vyut Krama is really nice because you can clean a lot more thoroughly, right? You're getting like the back of your throat and the back of your nose, and it's coming out. So I'm going to show you. It's a little bit gross, just forewarning, but I'm going to tell you how I do it. So fill up your mouth with salt water, and I use a quart of clean water and a tablespoon of clean salt. I'll explain what I mean by clean in a minute. So I put those in my mouth, and then I use my tongue to push them up, and I relax my nose so it starts to drain out of my nose. It's also really important to be leaning way over. One thing that I like to do is I'll put like my forehead against the bathroom faucet. So I'm just kind of like leaning it on there, but I'll show you how to do it this way as well. So here we go. See? Very easy and very thorough. The other practice I want to talk to you about is Sutra Neti. Now, sutra means thread. So I'm going to take this urethral catheter, which came out of this sterile package, and I'm going to thread this in through my nose and then back through the back of my mouth, and it's going to come out the front of my mouth, kind of like flossing that area back there. So this is also a very cleansing practice, but it's not in the same way as like washing a bunch of salt water through. This is stimulating in kind of like a massage sort of way for your nasal passages, but it's also really stimulating for your nervous system. There are nerves back up in there. It's kind of the place that you get brain freeze because there's a lot of nerves that are close to the surface. And so the first time I did this, I got really energized and I couldn't sleep for a couple of extra hours that night. So make sure that you do it in the morning. And yeah, so let me demonstrate. So I just use spit to lubricate this, but you can also use salt water, maybe a little more YouTube appropriate. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna go into the port that is actually the entrance to my nostril at the bottom of it, and I'm gonna go around. So when you first are doing this, you're gonna experience a lot of resistance. So just go really, really slow. And if you only get in an inch the first time, just let it sit here. That is really helpful for you, you know? You don't want to push it. You don't want to force it. It does get easier over time. So I'm continuing to push until I can feel it in the back of my throat. And then I'm going to reach my other finger through the back of my throat, and I'm going to pull it forward. And then you can go forward and back a couple of times, but just be really gentle and really slow. So I went a little bit too deep. Then it went into my throat and gagged me a little bit, which is also good. That's another practice for cleansing. I do that every morning with my toothbrush. And so, you know, if you have allergies, if you have some kind of blockage in your sinuses, if you just, you know, maybe you do a lot of dairy and you have like inflammation in there, these practices are just fantastic. You'll feel clean as a whistle when you're done. Good luck. Almost forgot. What do I mean by clean water and clean salt? So you do not want to use tap water for neti pot for any of these practices. Reason being is that they treat it to make it safe for drinking, whatever, that's another story, but there could be microbes, nematodes, whatever, that are living in the water. if it's just tap water. So you don't want to do that. You want to do one of two things. One is you can boil the water, which is a little bit inconvenient because now you have extremely hot water that you have to now wait to cool down. You're trying to time it, whatever. What I do is I use reverse osmosis water, which is what I drink anyway, with the addition of remineralization and a Kangen water machine, etc. But so that's what I do. So I do half hot water from my tea dispenser that's filled with my drinking water, and then I put in my tablespoon of salt, and then I fill up with cold water, which is in the other side of my water dispenser, and then I have perfect water that's ready to go for my practices. Okay, so now let's talk about salt. I'm not going to use pink Himalayan salt, no matter how on brand that might seem for the neti pot, etc., because that's just kind of like scooped off of the mountain, and they can have all kinds of other stuff in that. So I use kosher salt, diamond salt, which Dr. Paul Saladino has turned me on to. Is really, really pure. And when you think about it, it's like, sea salt is really good for food and it's all natural and all that sort of thing. But kosher salt, especially diamond kosher salt, is kind of like filtered water is, which is why it's so low in heavy metals and other toxic stuff like that. So that's what I do. Reverse osmosis, or as good of filtered water as you can. I mean, sterile filtered or distilled, and diamond kosher salt.